Welcome to my reading corner. These are books that I'm going to recommend that are controversial, have a bunch of differing opinions, or I feel like haven't really been recommended enough. And hopefully, based off of what I say, you pick up at least one of them because they're all very good books that I think that you guys should read. The first one, if you feel like you need to get back into reading, or you feel like you are in kind of like a slump, Shadows Between Us was a very quick, easy, coming back into reading type of book. It's about this girl who is trying to win over the heart of the king to then go behind his back and take over the ruling by killing him. It was a very quick, fast-paced read. She has also written Daughter of the Pirate King, which a lot of people loved, but if you need like a very easy to read book, quick to get back into, it's like 330 pages, I recommend The Shadows Between Us. So then, this book I feel like isn't recommended all that much, and maybe because I'm either like not on that side of social media or I just don't see it, but it is Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan. This book was something that I picked up off the shelf solely based off of like the spine and the front cover. I didn't read the back, I didn't look into any of it, I didn't look at the reviews, I just picked up and read it, and this book surprised me so much. I at first was kind of like hesitant in reading it. It took me a little bit to get into it, but then I fell in love. It was super good. More like traditional fantasy than the like current fae fantasy that we have a lot of books of. About this society where there are people who can speak to gods and they're saints, and then there are these people who are trying to like get rid of that portion of society because it doesn't really match up with what they're trying to enforce. The main character can speak to the gods, and you kind of follow her story and a forbidden romance, which was a nice additive to this book. It is a trilogy, and I have the second book on my shelf to read, but this was definitely a very good book, and I was quite surprised by how much I loved it. The next books that I would recommend are the Kingdom of the Wicked books. The first book is called Kingdom of the Wicked. It is about this girl whose sister gets murdered, and she's trying to figure out like why and how, and so she calls upon one of the princes of hell, and they are based off of the 7 deadly sins. They kind of go through this process of who did it, how did they did it, and why is it happening. There's also, I wouldn't really say like forbidden romance, but surprising romance that happens. Maybe predictable to some, but it wasn't predictable to me. And the second book is Kingdom of the Cursed. This one is more, I would say, like world building and like plot explaining than the first book. It kind of ties in where some of those like loose ends were in the first book. And then the third book is Kingdom of the Feared, and I have not read them. These two books, I rated them about 4 to 4.5 stars. The next set of books that I would recommend that I feel like are very controversial, the Zodiac Academy books. You either love these books or you hate these books. I loved them. The first book, The Awakening, is about these two girls who kind of get picked up from the slums of Chicago and thrown into the Zodiac Academy. Their names are Darcy and Tori. Their enemies, which are these 4 boys who kind of like rule the Zodiac Academy, are Caleb, Max, Seth, and Darius. And it's kind of about how they start to acclimate to this new life that they never knew existed, work through trials and the tribulations of what happens in the Zodiac Academy. There are powers, there is a lot of like influence based off of the Zodiac. There's some breaking in the text, as in it's not all traditional writing. There are some portions of the text where it's like text messages, emails. Very interesting. I liked it. It did take me about the first 100 pages to get into it, but then once I did, I absolutely fell in love. The second book is Ruthless Fae. This one is more world building, but the spice that is like promised with these books is shown in this book. This is where it starts to get pretty spicy and the characters start to develop a little bit more. You're gonna love some characters, you're gonna hate some characters. The qualm with this book is that I felt like it could be a little bit shorter. I felt like the world building was nice because it did wrap up how you saw the Zodiac Academy. There are maps, but I felt like it flowed through the map a lot better. Third book, The Reckoning, was so good. It is a little bit thicker, but it was so good. I read this book so fast, The spice that everyone raves about is present in this book. And it also had like a nice dialogue, a nice storytelling. I felt they did such a good job in this book, and it made the other two books worthwhile. This one I would say is 4.5 stars, and the other two are anywhere between 4 and 4.5 stars. I have the fourth one on my shelf to read, and then I have the first book told from the boy's perspective in my cart to buy. The last books that I would recommend, my 5-star, I tell everybody to read these, is This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet. It is by Victoria Schwab, or V.E. Schwab if you've ever read any of their other stuff, and these are just so good. I can't even begin to explain how great these books are. The flow of the book, the storytelling of the book, the writing, the character development, everything is just, it was so good. About the society where there are monsters who live, but then there are people who have some of the powers of the monsters as well, and then normal people. The normal people live in kind of this like barricaded city. The people who are normal but have powers kind of protect the city, and then there are true monsters, and it follows two different characters, two different perspectives. One perspective is August and one perspective is Kate, and they both have a secret. You're figuring it out. It is so good. And to follow that book up is Our Dark Duet. I felt like this tied the duology up very good. I cried at the end of this book. They're just so good. I cannot explain how great these books are. These are 5-star reads, both of them. I wish there was a third book. They're just written so well. They are such great books. And it was a good break in the fantasy that I had been reading. It's a little bit different fantasy. It was kind of like a mystery fantasy. You're trying to figure out what's happening and why. If I remember correctly, there's a really good plot twist in this book. 5-star read, 5-star read. I would purchase this and gift it to every single one of my friends if they all read. So yeah, those are my kind of controversial takes on popular books, or on books that I feel like nobody reads, or books that I haven't seen recommended. So hopefully you pick up one of these books. If you're gonna pick up any of them, it would be this one. I hope you enjoyed that, and that's about it. Alrighty, thank you.